Okay guys, let's go ahead and finish this 4-link build, this All-Foy Plus axle swap that we're doing on this OBS with our brand new 4-link system that we're coming out with for these trucks. We've got everything pretty much ready to go. We've got the front axle nice and painted. Don't worry, we're still gonna do the brakes. And all we gotta do is just slide this under the truck, connect the 4 links. I can't believe that we finally have this 4-link kit ready for you guys. It has been so much work, but we've got everything finalized. We just got to put this together, which is what we're going to be doing right now, and taking the truck for a test drive. Man, I'm excited. Let's jump right into it. This lip, guys, is such a game changer. That, along with that hydraulic lift table, makes installing and removing an axle so easy. And also, by the way, safety always first. We've got these jacks on every corner of the truck, especially when we're going to be adding or taking off as much weight as it is with these axles. If you guys haven't seen this before, this is a hydraulic lift table. This particular one is from Vevor, and it's super cool because we can go up with it a little bit, we can drop it, and with some carefully placed dunnage, we were able to get this thing on there, you know, pretty stable. So let's go ahead and roll this under the truck. Again, like, this is why I love this thing. Just look how easily we're able to roll it, and there we go, straight under the truck. Man, gotta love it. So now we're gonna go ahead, bring our links, and start connecting them from the axle to the truck, and then we'll hang the axle from the truck, and it'll be at that point basically installed. I mean, obviously we're still gonna do our track bar and our steering. This truck is so close to being done, man. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's not waste any time. Alrighty guys, so we've got a few parts on the truck, and most importantly, we've got the 4-link on the truck. And I am so glad that I made the changes that I made, because I think it just elevates it to a whole new level. Man, I don't even know what to say. I mean, they speak for themselves, honestly. They look so good, and I know that it's kind of hard to really appreciate because it's all black, just different shades. I even like that it looks so aggressive. It's definitely the right call to add those 2 bends, because it just elevated it to a whole different level, in my opinion, other than just being a flat bracket. And again, especially for something that's so much smaller than a full cradle, it literally makes it stand out so much more. Just the detail of doing the overlays in a gloss black instead of doing everything satin black, and then the nice stainless steel hardware on there just looks fantastic. And then I love the little BDD. I love how, like, it's kind of subtle, like it's not so in your face, you know, but it's still, you know, still there. So man, I love it. And then we've got the coil buckets on. Again, we did the BDD logo in a gloss black. That way it stands out a little bit. And then one thing that I like doing whenever we do these, well, I guess, and I'm still working on the brake lines. It's just kind of hard getting a good price and getting everything the way that I want it, because I'll show you why. I really wanted to keep this clip on the frame. So we gotta get a fitting that will have that shape right there, because it's not just a circle, it's like a D, like a backwards D. So we got to get that fitting. And then whenever you have fittings like this they need to go a certain way, they have to make every line the same, because if they make it to where this fitting is over here, it'll put a twist in the line, which you don't want. So I gotta get these lines made, and then if everything works out, I'm gonna have to make a little map of them and use them as prototypes, and then essentially get different measurements for different heights, you know, and see what works with what. So again, these are brake lines, which to me, it's a very, very important part of the whole system. But what I was gonna say is that since we're keeping this bracket with the brake lines that I'm gonna be using, all I do is cut a little sliver off of this bracket. That way it clears the frame, you know, it doesn't rub up against it or anything. And I think it looks really good. Nice factory look. But yeah, now that we have these brackets on, we're gonna go ahead, get the rear brackets on, and then we're gonna start getting the rear axle installed. And at that point, we're basically gonna be ready to take this thing on a drive. Okay guys, so I wanna show you this little problem that I was having that maybe you noticed from that little time lapse with this rear shackle hanger. Obviously, this is a little bit tricky to work with because we've got this tank right there. Now, this tank is a little bit special because this is the 38-gallon tank or whatever you want to call it. And we hadn't had a truck yet that had one of these tanks. So when you have the regular tank, you can fish your wrench with your bolt up to the side like this really easily. I just put a piece of tape behind it to hold the nut, and you can get in there and get it tight. I went to go do this with this wrench and I wasn't able to because, so you see that little flange right there? That's basically where the two halves of the tank meet. But that flange is quite a bit thicker than on the OEM tanks. And I was having the hardest time figuring out how I was gonna get to it. So we got this thing pretty much ready to go. We gave the axle a nice coat of paint. As you can see, it looks nice and shiny. We did use that Rust-Oleum Professional. I love that paint. We've used a couple other kinds of paint, including like the, what's it called? A couple of popular chassis paints. And definitely this by far is my favorite. We also got the rear kit in the truck, as well as the SkyJacker. I believe these are 6-inch springs, either 6-inch or 4-inch. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we wanted to go with the spring that's slightly less lift than what the front is, and that's so that it gives us a little bit of room for a block in case we need it. So what that will do is give us a chance to dial in the ride height perfectly with the front, and also dial in the pinion angle in case, you know, we gotta tilt it up a little bit more than likely. That's why we want to go with a slightly shorter spring so that we can make it up with a small block, probably no more than 2 inches, which is nothing crazy. Yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead, get this axle slid under the truck, get it all connected, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on to the front. I talked about this table that I'm using on a previous video, the little hydraulic lift table that Vivor sent us. And I gotta say, man, it really makes installing these axles a lot easier. Definitely glad that we were able to figure out this setup. All right, cool. So we got this side in. I'm gonna go ahead, get the other side installed, and we're pretty close to being done. The front end should be pretty easy to go underneath it too. So definitely really excited to be done with this truck and see what it's gonna look like on the ground. It's gonna be a beast. Right now it's the weekend, so probably early on Monday we're gonna run to get the wheels and tires mounted. By then I should have the measurements that I need for the brake lines, and we should be good to go. So yeah. We're getting really close to wrap up this build, and it's time for shocks. We're gonna be installing some of my favorite shocks on this build, which are the SkyJacker ADX 2.0 shocks. These things are freaking cool. They've got obviously a remote reservoir. They ride really nice. They're not gonna break the bank. We love SkyJacker and their products. I run them in my trucks, and we install a lot of them. So I get to drive in a lot of trucks with these shocks and these springs, and they perform amazing. So I'm really excited to get them on that truck, which is basically getting a full SkyJacker package as well. We're using the 8-inch springs, shocks, and then we're using the SkyJacker soft ride leaf springs in the rear too. So it should be a really nice riding truck. And one thing that I love about SkyJacker is that they're still family owned, which is something that you can't say about a lot of companies. I don't know how many companies are out there that are still family owned. So definitely a cool company to support. But yeah, we've got, again, like I said, the rear shocks right here. These are 8-inch lift shocks that should pair really well with that truck. So let's go ahead, throw these in, and then we'll move on to the front shocks. Okay guys, so I was finishing up the rear axle and I was doing the parking brake, and I ran into a little problem that I hadn't ran into before, which I think I know why. So this is kind of how we set up the parking brake with our bracket. As you can see, we've got a couple of them. Maybe, let me get a light. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, we've got these holes that let you pass the cables through the bracket. And then, again, let me move that light. And then on this other side, we have this small little bracket that mounts to our actual bracket. As you can see, we've got a bolt here and a bolt down there. And then this captures these two lines that allow you to, they pretty much hold the lines in place so you can actually pull on the cables themselves. And then from there, we use this part that already comes with the OBS to tie them in together like stock, like they were before. Now this cable looks perfect, about right, but this bottom cable, as you can see, it's about 3-4 inches longer than it needs to be. That must be from this axle being an 05 through 07 axle, which we haven't used a set of these axles in a while. Usually we're using 08 through 10. With the 08 through 10 axles, the parking brake cables, they come out being about the same length, at least not this far off where you can't really, make it work. Now here in the shop, I have this parking brake cable that came out of, that was for a 2012 and up Super Duty, I believe, 2012 through 16. But I believe that we can make this one work. So I'm gonna go ahead, remove this cable from the axle, swap it out with this cable, and hopefully that will line up properly. If not, then we'll get a cable that I know will work, which is an 08 through 10. We should be good to go. No, just a bummer that we gotta redo the work, but it'll be all right. Also, if you're wondering why I'm not using these two that seem to be like right in the perfect spot and line up, it's because one, that ball doesn't fit in that hole. They're quite a bit off from being where they need to be, about 3 inches, 4 inches. So that would make your e-brakes pretty much be engaged the whole time. So this is the actual part that you want to be pulling on. That and that, not these two. And before we go, look at those SkyJacker ADX shocks on this truck installed. They look great. Ignore the chains holding up the axle. Again, they look super good. We've got the wheels and tires all loaded up. We've got the 37-inch Nittos, the TIS wheels. Also, one thing that I just found out is that those TIS wheels are the same as Bryce has on his truck. But yeah, let's go ahead, get these things mounted so we can get them on the truck and get that truck under its own weight. So we got the truck pretty much ready to go under its own weight. We've got everything hooked up. We've got our SkyJacker 8.5-inch springs. And then I want to talk about this because I got a lot of questions. You always want to use a spring isolator between the spring and the coil bucket. I still haven't had good luck with any of the aftermarket options that are out there. So we really like going with the Ford isolator. This is the part number in case you guys are looking for it. Let's see. And we usually get these things off of eBay. Sometimes I get them directly from Ford. They are a bit pricey, but they're worth it. The aftermarket options, this hole that goes to the pin, it's actually much larger, which will allow your coil to move. Well, you know, in theory it can move. It's usually going to be under pressure, but still, this is a little bit of a softer material, isolates a little better, so I would go with this. And then again, our SkyJacker 8-inch shocks. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead, get the axle dropped a little bit, throw the spring on, and then I don't think I showed you guys the finished result, but look at these beauties. So we got some TIS 22 by 12 inch wheels on some 37 by 13.5 Nitto trail grapplers, MT. This is an aggressive combo. Really like the way that these look. And I want to show you something, why it's always a good idea to go with the good quality set of wheels and tires. That's all the weight that they used to balance this big heavy setup. So again, in my opinion, that's not bad at all. Also, one thing that my tire guy told me that I hadn't heard before, and I guess it makes sense in my opinion, in my mind, but I didn't know this. But what they told me is that you want to use the wheel and tire combo that has the least amount of weight on the front driver's side, so where the steering wheel's at. And then you go all the way furthest away from you with the most weight. So passenger rear would have the most weight. Again, like I said, I guess it makes sense, but I want to ask, you know, some of you guys that, you know, maybe deal with wheels and tires more than I do. Is that true? Okay guys, we got this thing back on the ground and it's looking amazing. I'm honestly super happy and impressed with how everything came out. The four-link looks, I'm looking at it right now, it just looks aggressive. I'm so happy with the design changes that I decided to make to it, because it really made a huge difference in my opinion. So now, as you can see, we've got the truck not sitting completely level, which, as I've been saying, that was kind of the plan. We want to run a small block in the rear to dial in that ride height and also dial in that pinion angle. I will be making a separate video trying to teach you guys how to figure out your carrier bearing drop and the taper on your blocks. But if we do everything right now in this video, it'll make the video way too long. And then I want to kind of figure out a couple of ways that we can maybe do this to make it even easier, because I do a lot of my calculations on the computer, but I know that a lot of you guys don't have access to that type of software. But basically, this is kind of all of my math. I have to drop the carrier bearing 2 inches, not degrees, 2 inches. We need a 3-inch block with a 5-degree taper. That will give us, that'll get all of our U-joints at a working angle that they'll be really happy at, that we shouldn't have any drive shaft vibrations, and that should really prolong the life of those U-joints. And it's something that's really important with these big lifted trucks. We'll be going over all of that in a separate video, because it's not a lot of math, but it can get, to explain it right, I guess it would take me a long time. And as a lot of you guys know, I'm not a really good teacher. It's not my thing, but I will, like I said, we will make a separate video just for that. But for now, we're gonna make a 3-inch block with a 5-degree taper to it. So let's get right to that. Okay guys, so we got this thing back on the ground. We got the block installed. We got the drive shaft all within line. So these are our final numbers. So we got 6 degrees of working angle on the first U-joint, 5.8 on the middle U-joint, and 6.2 on the pinion side U-joint. And again, you want all of these numbers to be within a degree. So we got 0.2 degrees of each other, 0.4 of these two, and 0.2 of those two. So again, everything really close to where it should be. We added 2 inches of carrier bearing drop. We did a I'll talk about the blocks here in a little bit. I messed up. But we did a 3-inch block with the 5-degree taper to it. Oh, and then for those of you that are gonna wonder, this is a spacer to accommodate for the lift. I got that from BDS. So we got everything. I mean, obviously it's super hard to tell, but everything should be nice and happy. And hopefully we shouldn't have any drive shaft vibration problems or wear problems on these U-joints. We should be good to go. So now, what I was gonna mention about the blocks is that, I don't know if you can tell, but the back now seems a little bit higher than the front, and that's because it is. And that's because this dumb guy right here built the blocks myself. Usually my welder, who you can hear in the background, he's the one that does all that stuff. Dude's amazing, Jose's amazing. But I really needed to get these things done, so I made it myself, which I'm also a pretty decent welder, not gonna lie. But like I said, I needed about a 3-inch block, and when I was cutting the tubes for the blocks, I cut them at 3 inches, completely forgetting that we have 2/4 inch plates on either side of that tube that add together 1/2 inch. So when I should have cut that block to 2.5 inches, I cut it to 3 inches plus those 2 plates. So these 2 plates, because as you can see, we like making these captured blocks. That way you never ever have a problem with these. That adds a little bit of height, and I completely forgot to account for that. So now the truck is sitting a little bit higher than I would like it to be, which is fine. We're gonna drive it around. We're gonna test drive it like this. Whenever you use new springs, they're gonna settle a little bit. You know, we've seen 1 inch, a little bit more, 1.5 inches, depending on how big the spring is. And these are pretty big springs. So we're gonna go ahead, keep moving forward. We're gonna align the front end, and then we're gonna test drive it. And before we're ready to have it sent back, we'll measure again, see exactly how much we gotta take off of that block, make a new block, install it, and that should guarantee us having a ride height that will be pretty much perfect. We gotta go ahead, set the toe on this thing, adjust the pinion angle, adjust the caster angle, go ahead and torque everything, and we should be ready to take this thing on a test drive, which this thing is pretty much there too. We just gotta put the overlays, do again the alignment and everything, and we'll have both of these trucks pretty much ready to go, which I'm so excited because and I'm going to talk about this in the next video once we get both of these trucks out of here, about what we're going to be doing moving forward, at least for the rest of the year. But like I said, I'm really excited to get both of these trucks out of the shop so we can start working on some projects that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. So let's go ahead, do that real quick. I'm not going to do the alignment process in detail at all, because just like with setting your pinion angle and figuring out how much drop you need for your carrier bearing, that's going to be part of its own video, because I want to be as thorough as possible, and dedicating 2 minutes to it is definitely not going to do it. So don't worry guys, we're going to have a full series on dialing in your alignment, all of that stuff, so that your trucks, because that's a big part of getting a good ride. You need a good alignment, guys. Every single time you need to align your trucks, and you need to set your pinion angle on the rear, as well as your carrier bearing drop. So, and by the way, we're going to be offering those shims. So I basically did a stack of these shims. So it's something that I'm thinking we're going to be offering with our lift blocks, because if you guys didn't know, we do have those lift blocks on the website. So we're going to be offering those shims with those blocks. That way that way you guys can dial in your U-joints and your pinion angle, all that stuff. Let me go ahead and get this thing aligned, and we'll take it for a test drive. Okay guys, as you can see, we have emptied out this bay. Now I wish that I could tell you that we were driving the truck, but unfortunately we're not. The last clip that I recorded, we were trying to get the truck aligned, and the more I looked at the numbers and everything, it wasn't adding up. Now that the truck is outside, I'll show you what's going on. And honestly, I feel really stupid. I'm a little upset, but luckily, it's a pretty easy fix. It's just gonna take about a week to be able to resolve it. So I don't know if you can tell something that is very obviously off with the truck. That axle is about 1 inch too far back. So basically the links, all of this kit, I based it off of what we're doing with Bryce's truck. When we did that truck, when we did this truck, everything lined up really good. Well, that's why I was really confident. We mocked up everything. If you guys remember, we used the plumb bob, we used the laser to make sure that everything was sitting where it needs to be sitting. Again, like it is on this truck. This is looking perfect. So I was pretty confident that the link lengths and everything, which they're on the whiteboard, it doesn't matter, that the links and everything was going to be good, the length. So because the front of this kit essentially bolts up exactly where the front of that cradle is at. So if the math and everything adds up, it should have been the same. And also the coil springs are 8 inch. So everything is basically the same, right? So it should have lined up right. But very obviously it doesn't. The axle is shifted quite far back, and it makes it look worse because this bumper is spaced out like, I don't know, maybe over 1 inch. You can see right there, maybe. So it makes it look worse than it is, but it is still definitely too far back. And basically the problem that I was having is that I was trying to fix the caster on this thing. I was trying to dial it in, and my coil for one had this bend, which you'll get on these taller springs. But as you can see, it was running out of space and it was starting to hit the coil bucket, which that's not normal. So I kind of stepped back, took a good look at it, and I noticed that it kind of did look like it was too far back. So I kind of have it mapped out where center of this wheel well should be, which is, I don't know if you've noticed on Bryce's truck, we have a piece of tape with the line. That's about where center is. It kind of matches up with this first bend on the coil bucket. The center of the axle should be like right around there, not here, but actually like right around here. Right now, the axle is actually about center with that coil bucket, which it doesn't make sense, but trust me, we've done plenty of these. You want to be a little bit ahead of those two bends. I mean, the truck looks amazing. Like, this thing is, I know the cameras never make it justice, but this truck is ginormous, guys. It is for sure and by far the biggest OBS that we've done in this shop, and the best looking OBS too. Like, I am very happy with the way that this thing is turning out, or turned out. Like I said, we were pretty much there. I had the toe alignment dialed in, and like I said, I was just fighting with that caster, and the more and more that I was fighting it, the worst that I feel like it was getting, and I was like, no, this isn't right. But I mean, it is what it is. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is that the pre-sale for this kit is live, and one of the reasons why I'm so bummed out is because I wanted to have the truck fully put together and driving before I released the pre-sale, the pre-order for the kits. Unfortunately, obviously, that's not gonna happen, but I mean, the kit is pretty much there. And the way that we're gonna do it is, again, like I said, it's a pre-sale, it's a pre-order. We're looking at about a month and a half before the first kits, the first orders start shipping out. And the reason why I'm giving me that buffer is to iron out stuff like this. I'm not gonna send you guys anything that I'm not 100% confident and happy with. So part of what we're gonna be doing in that month and a half is making sure that all of this is completely ironed out. Definitely a bummer, but luckily, like I said, it's not a big deal. It's something that we can get fixed tomorrow, get it over to powder coat, and we should be good to go. I mean, man, this thing looks amazing. Now, I will say, with this combination with the 8-inch spring, I think you could definitely fit a 40 under this thing. These are 37s, and there's a lot of space in that wheel well. Well, not even in the wheel well, but you know, before the wheel well for a 40-inch tire, or definitely a much more aggressive wheel setup, which, I mean, this is a pretty aggressive wheel setup, but with this much lift, you could definitely fit. You can go more aggressive with it, especially, like I said, in the front. We're gonna be moving forward a little bit, so oh boy, man, this is cool, guys. This is really cool. I can't believe it took us forever, I'll be the first to admit, but I am happy with these results. I'm really happy with the truck, with the way that it's looking. I just really wanted to drive it today. Man, that's a good looking truck. I don't know if I told you guys, but my single cab is going to be getting this same setup, and I'm very excited for it. It's gonna look good. And again, I'm gonna have to figure out a more aggressive tire and wheel setup for this thing. I really like those TISs. I might maybe go with something like that. I'm not sure yet, but it looks good. That I know for a fact. At least we were able to drive it out here and take a good look at it and see how amazing it looks outside. I really don't know what else I would change to this other than doing coilovers, which is on the list, but it looks amazing. Oh, and also, I know someone's gonna mention this. Yes, of course, the links have adjustment, but where it's at right now and how much more it needs to move, we would run out of shank on the Johnny joints. So that's why I did play with the Johnny joints, but you want to have a certain amount of threads in that link from the Johnny joint, and if we went that full inch that it needs to go forward, it wouldn't leave it enough threads in there. So that's why we can't adjust it with the links. Right after I'm done with that truck, we're gonna be installing the same kit on my truck so that we can make sure this iron out and make sure that we're happy with the kit. But yeah, guys, again, I am super happy with the way that everything turned out. The truck looks amazing, and like I said, we're gonna fix that problem tomorrow. I just really want to post this video on Monday so that we can put the sale live, and you guys that have been asking me to launch the pre-order, the pre-sale on this thing, can go ahead and place your orders. Again, I am really sorry. I am disappointed. I don't know how something like that slipped by me. I usually don't make mistakes that dumb, but you know, it happens to all of us. And I'm just glad that, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I'm just glad that I was able to, you know, catch it. Hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully you liked the way that this beautiful truck turned out. If you did, leave a like, leave any comments that you might have down below. Don't forget to subscribe because we have a lot more coming. I'll see if I can give you a little sneak peek of something that's in the back of my truck. So again, guys, leave a like, leave any comments that you might have down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you for the next one.